afternoon. You can make anything. So when I say you can make anything, what do I mean? Do I mean that you can make a product? Do I mean that you can build a business? Do I mean that you can make anything you want of your life today, this year, this decade, or for the future? I think I mean all of this. Today I'm here to talk about how I made my life over and over again. And I made my career in many different ways until I'm standing here today in front of you as an anchor, as an entrepreneur, and as a filmmaker. So let me start right at the beginning. And through the course of the story, I will show you many times and many ways in which I winged it till I made it. This is a picture of me and two members of my family, my mother and my sister. This was taken a couple of years ago. I was born into a conservative, simple, Hindu, South Indian middle-class family. A family where, even though my mother was almost the sole breadwinner, this is a family where the girls did not leave home till they got married. Girls did not ride motorbikes. Girls did not travel alone. Girls did not build businesses. Girls did not take major chances that meant stepping out and doing something out of the ordinary. But I did all of this and more. I'll start with the first. At 18, I left home to do social work. I worked with a collective of international youth to work in the poorest of slums in Chennai and in interior Tamil Nadu, as well as in Bangalore, feeding young people, feeding really, really poor people. At 19, I was running a free meals program for 300 people. At 21, we had helped build English learning materials, low-cost English learning materials for first-generation English learners who could not afford these books. At 22, I was one of the only women to go in an overnight train to Bhuj, where the earthquake had just happened in Gujarat, for relief work. I learned a lot of things from these experiences. I learned how to survive. I learned how to cook and clean for many people. I learned humility. I also learned a lot about failure. These 4 years of social work, I lived on second-hand clothes in charity money, and I had a pocket money of 100 rupees a week. That's all I had. But at 24, I ended up looking something like this, very different to how I started off. A few months before this picture was taken, I was 12 kilos heavier. I was sitting at a cafe, and I have the most interesting story to say about how I went from being a social worker to a model. A few people from a big television channel walked into the cafe as I was sitting there with my friends, and they were canvassing for people, saying, hey, we've got a VJ hunt happening, would you like to come audition? And my friends and I, we didn't have much to do that day, so we said maybe we would go audition. So I went for the audition that evening. For the first time in my life, I wore a spaghetti top, I wore lots of accessories, and I went off in my riding boots, and I did the audition, and I was standing there in front of the camera, and I said, I can be a VJ because. And the producer said, cut, Lakshmi, this is not a VJ hunt, this is a supermodel hunt. And I was baffled, because that's not what they told me that afternoon. But I winged it. I winged it because I didn't want to embarrass myself. And I said, I could be a model because I think I'm confident. I think I love being amongst people, and I think I can walk the stage. And I walked out there thinking, oh, what a lie I told. But that day started a very different journey to my career. So I lost 12 kilos, and that is the picture from my very first photo shoot. Until I got into modeling, I probably hadn't threaded my eyebrows or waxed my arms. But I learned a lot. I learned to exercise very, very rigorously and also watch what I ate. I went from being the girl who was out in the sun all the time to having to stay indoors and protect my uneven skin, to prevent an uneven skin tone. Modeling taught me a lot of things about myself, about how people looked at me. Until that day, I had only been looking at other people and how I saw them. From modeling, I realized also that being a skinny, tall girl in Chennai wasn't going to make you much money. Skinny and tall and dusky was for Bombay, not for Chennai. Chennai liked their shorter, paler women. So it didn't make me much money. I spent a lot on the wardrobe, not enough luck still. So I transitioned into anchoring. I realized, hey, I can speak, so let me try this. Maybe it'll pay me more. I had to survive. At this period of my life, at 24, I was also fighting a bitter divorce. I I was living on my own without much emotional support or financial support, so I had to survive. And anchoring was a way of doing that. I used to go 5-star hotel to 5-star hotel and meet a lot, also go to a lot of event management companies canvassing for work. And I survived. I realized anchoring accidentally made me much more money than modeling would ever have. And to date, I still anchor. What I learned from modeling about presenting myself, combined with everything that I learned about talking to people, I put it together and channeled it into anchoring. But that wasn't enough. At 26, I got my divorce, and I was like, what next? I had to have a longer, bigger game plan for the future. I'd done social work and social research. I'd done some modeling. I'd done some anchoring. What next? I needed a path. Counseling told me, well, maybe you should go do your postgraduate degree, take a break, build your career for the future. And I said, okay. And there I was at 27. I went off to do my postgraduate degree in the UK. I went to Sheffield Hallam University. Very few people realized at that university and outside that when I applied for my postgraduate degree, I didn't have an undergraduate degree. So I winged that too. When I applied to many universities in Australia, in the US, and the UK, I applied and I was honest. I didn't have an undergraduate degree. I didn't cheat. But what I did have was I could speak well. My English was decent. I had a great SOP. And I had a story to tell about everything I'd done with my life until then. 8 years of work experience backed me. And so I got into a postgraduate degree in international marketing. I completed the degree. I worked right through the summer. I led the email marketing program at the business school. Once I finished my studies, I went on to do research as part of the business school. I consulted for local businesses. I also started teaching marketing, surviving in every way. When I went to the UK, I had only enough money to pay for food for 2 months. The first job I took up when I was there was to work on the shop floor at Body Shop. Hourly wages, it paid the food. It paid the rent as well. Soon, of course, I was earning enough money to travel too. So you can see me here on the right with friends traveling in Lake District. I went abroad to other places in Europe too. And that's me after I got my postgraduate degree. But life has many ways of teaching you who you are and shaping you for the better if you're open to that kind of learning and experiments. Soon after this, I thought everything was great. I was going to go off to another country, maybe do my PhD in marketing, and my life as an academic would be set. I was happy. I had visa issues. I had to come back to India when I was 30. And I told myself I'd give myself 2 years in India, and if by the end of those 2 years I figured out something here that I loved doing, I would stay on. And I did. When I came back, I went through some flux, trying different things. And eventually I realized I wanted to bring together everything that I'd done so far. I had 10, 12 years of work experience as a social worker, as a social researcher, model, anchor, marketer. How do I bring it all together? And that's when a big experiment started. A lot of people know me because of my online talk show, Chai with Lakshmi. The talk show has done about 130 episodes, won a few awards, it's got 4 million views. But it started as an experiment, like many things in my life. So this talk show was my way of coming closer to entrepreneurs as a marketing consultant, learning from them about entrepreneurship, and of course, putting out to the world my abilities as an anchor. But that talk show shaped my life like nothing I had ever done before. It brought me closer to many, many, many inspiring people. And it also made me realize that to produce and create something of high quality, I had to have a lot more money than I did. So when I started this talk show, I borrowed money to run it. So I soon realized that I needed a lot more money than I thought it needed. And so how do I make money? Well, survival instincts come in. I realized that I had built a team that was great at production. So we became a film production house. 5.5 years on, we've made 300 films, ad films to YouTube content to corporate films. We have clients such as Microsoft, SAP, ThoughtWorks, a lot of Indian businesses and startups too. Today, as I stand here, there are about 20 different films that my team and I are working on, the busiest we've ever been. I've taken a break from the talk show, but the lessons and learnings continue, and I hope to go back to it next year. This is the journey so far, but parallelly, there are many, many, many such journeys also in life, personally and professionally, through which I've learned a lot. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a second. That's a part of my team and me in the middle of production for a film for SAP. And this is me just last year. I still model for designers, I anchor events across the country, and of course, the business has been growing. Today, as I speak, I've been signed up as a brand ambassador for a lifestyle startup. And my business is growing from a small business to a scalable startup that is expanding on the basis of a collaborative business model. There's something that I read on somebody's laptop quite a few years ago, and that's that quote, "Everybody's winging it, some do it better." And I think that's so true. Nobody ever has all the answers. And in every situation, the answers are different, the direction is different. And what we choose makes us as much as what we make of that situation. I've also been a biker all along. I learned to ride a cycle only when I was 18 after I left home. I started riding motorbikes soon after because that was the only thing available to a social worker. It was a 10-year-old second-hand Bajaj Kawasaki. I upgraded from there when I started earning money to a TVS Victor. And about 10 years ago, our highways in the south were still getting built, but I would be riding off in my TVS Victor city to city because, hey, I enjoyed that feeling of liberty, of being free and being able to do what I wanted. Half the time, I would have no trouble, even though I was the only rider and the only woman out there on a motorbike, because TVS Victors were also mostly ridden by policemen and policewomen at the time. The situation worked to my advantage. Now, it's way cooler for women to ride motorbikes, and that's the bike I was most recently on. So, dream it, try it. You don't need all the answers. You'll figure it out as you go along. Wing it till you make it. Thank you.